Hey guys, Sully Sports Cards here. Just wanted to do another video for you guys. This one's going to be more of a story, actually. It's a story about how I acquired this card in front of you right now. The T206 Cobb Red Portrait, Piedmont back. I've shown this in one or two of my other videos, or I believe just one, my collection video. Graded a 1.5. I've showed this before. You guys can check out my first video. That's my collection video. So essentially, the story is pretty interesting. I'm going to start with the story, and then I'm going to kind of continue on to talk about the set. I'm not an expert in this set, but the set of the card that I had found. So yeah, essentially, the title should kind of give this whole thing away. So I'll just begin with the story, and then I'll go on about the set. So essentially, I found an extremely rare card. So it was summer of 2021. It was late summer 2021. I usually vacation in New Hampshire, near Lake Winnipesaukee, Newfound Lake area. And there's a great card shop. You need to check it out. It's called Bud's Sports Cards and Collectibles. I'll put a little photo right here for you guys to see at least his address and location. Awesome shop. Really, his shop is like the go-to area for people to drop off collections or to sell things. And he finds a lot of interesting stuff in that area. He kind of like runs that market in a sense where locally he's known as the guy. If you have anything or find anything, he's the guy to go to. And Bud's a great dude. And I started to go in there that summer for the first time. I discovered that place. And he has so many vintage cards, some commons, and then the stuff that he has that's really rare, he sets aside and puts in his case. And sometimes he gets things in he doesn't know what he has, and sometimes he gets things in and he knows exactly what he has. He's, pretty versed in all different things. And so I'm going through some things. He has a whole, row of star cards, and they're just vintage stars. That's what he lists the box as. So I'm going through and finding things that might be in good condition or cards I might be looking for. And I stumble upon a card, a very tiny card with almost the color of this this background here, just like a plain white card about the size of a T206 card of a player I've never heard of before. His last name was Long and the first name Herman Long. And I had never seen the card before in my life. It was a card that I just didn't know what it was, but I knew it was old just by looking at it. And at the time, I'm like, listen, I'm going to give this a shot. So he had $20 on the card, $20 price tag on it. So I bought the card for 20 bucks. Along with a few other things. And I was excited to go home, and I've talked about this before. Twitter in the baseball card world at least is a good resource for me to find some things out, make some trades. If you have any questions, tweet it out. There's some knowledgeable people on there. And I posted the card on Twitter, just an image of the card. You might be able to find it in my Twitter. It's still up there from back then. And I posted the card raw in a case, and I just said, hey guys, I don't know what this card is. Can someone kind of educate me? Is this a cool find? And I believe Pre-War Cards on Twitter, he also runs a pre-war card website, which has a lot of information on there, had immediately wrote to me back, essentially saying like, hey, listen, man, you have an E107 Breisch Williams card. This is a great find. And so the second he said E107 Breisch Williams, I Googled it and started to learn about the set. And the set's a very interesting set. I'm going to go into that a little bit after I finish the story. So I find this E107 card. I'm very excited about it. I really don't have any question about the authenticity because the card isn't perfect. It's stained, and I'll show the card right here in a little image. So as you can see, I sent the card out to SGC. It came back a 1. I was hoping it'd get a 1 or at least an authentic to just prove its authenticity. Super happy about that. Really pumped about it. I got it back, and I started to do more research on it. And I kind of asked myself, like, okay, this card's a really rare pre-war card, but at the time there were some things I wanted that I would have liked to have for my collection. And one of them was specifically just a T206 Cobb Red Portrait. It's a card I've always wanted for a while. And so essentially I did some more digging, and I found an REA auction that had this Herman Long card, E107 Breisch Williams, graded a 1. It wasn't my exact one, obviously, because I just got mine graded, but it was a 1, I believe, or an authentic. I think it was a 1. Graded by SGC a while ago, and I wish I could find the auction. If I find the auction from, I think it was a couple years ago, so it was probably 2020. It sold in 2019. I'll put the auction up here, but essentially the card sold at auction for like $2,500. And I was shocked. I'm like, okay, my $20 investment plus $30 to SGC with shipping, call it, 35 or 45. So basically I have like $65 into this card that, could be worth $2,500. I was super excited to own a card like that as well, and then to have, say, value in trade or a sale. And so I took the card. I had the card for a while. I took the card with me to, I think, the Rich Altman show at Shriners Auditorium in Wilmington, which is where I used to live in Wilmington, Mass. And I took the card there, and I kind of just showed everybody the card. I was interested in selling the card to find a T206 Cobb. I was bringing the card around, and I found some people that were interested, but nobody wanted to pay what the REA auction was. And I was kind of firm on that price because, listen, I'm trying to, get a card that I want. And the auction was from a while ago. And I think, by the time I was selling it, I was, card prices were going up in value. And I said to myself, it should sell at least for the auction price. Maybe not to a dealer, but let me just be open-minded and kind of stay firm. So I stayed firm with my price. And walking around the show, I found this Cobb here, and I was, happy to find it. It wasn't like the best condition Cobb, but what struck me was that it is from the Charles Bray collection. And again, I've talked about this before, but it's just really cool to have a card like this come from a collection. And I've said this before. I think, I think cards that come from a collection, especially older cards like this, that have a designation of a collection tag from PSA or SGC, it's such a cool thing because it adds provenance to the card in a sense where who previously owned it. And I think that's such a cool thing. But the card kind of like struck me, and when I saw it in the case, I was, started to talk with the guy, and he was telling me how he's trying to sell some cards to buy a property in Maine, and he collected for a while. He bought this on a Leland's auction. Really had some amazing stuff. He had a turkey red Cobb that was all beat up. He had like a Joe DiMaggio heads up Gaudi card. He had a bunch of stuff. He actually had a greenback Cobb, which I couldn't afford, but I really just wanted this one. So when I saw that it was a 1.5, that the registration on it was great, coloring was really great, centering was great. It's just, it has creasing, and it doesn't necessarily bother me a bunch. So when I saw the card, I knew, I was like, listen, I have to have that card. So I kept making my rounds to dealers, and I did find a guy that was willing to pay me a little bit under comps for the REA auction. So, when I saw this card, I said, listen, I'm willing to make that move. I don't have much invested in the E107 card. Let me go try to make the move. And so I sold him that card for roughly $2,200. He was willing to pay it. It worked out great. He was happy that I even walked up to him at a show. He was shocked about my story. So the deal was made. And so essentially, I worked out a couple other things, came back to the seller, picked this card up, and I'm glad to still have it in my collection. And I don't think it's one I'm going to get rid of. It just has such a cool story to me. I could get in. There's so many of these out there. I'm going to put the population count. I looked at the population count on PSA. Over 1,000 of these T206 Cobb Piedmont backs have been graded, the red portraits. So over 1,000 have been graded of this card. And the Herman Long card, SGC had that at a pop 6. So I'll put that here as well. It had a SGC, so right now it's a pop 6, but at the time it must have been a pop 5, I believe. And what they do is essentially start to dive into the Breisch Williams set here. So the Breisch Williams set was released in 1903. A lot of the images you'll see on the E107 set, some of them are on also the T206 set. So they're original photos that were either taken for the Breisch Williams set or whatever it might be, and they were painted for the T206 set. And you'll see cards on that set like this Cy Young card here. This is from the E90 set, but this exact image is on the E107 1903 Breisch Williams set. And who has that card is Nuff Said Cards. He has a copy of that E107 card, which is just a spectacular card. But I'll put the card up here. You can check that one out. Also, this set had a Honus Wagner card. The Honus Wagner card is extremely rare. If you guys have never seen the Honus Wagner card, I'm going to put that here. It is a super low population card. It's a photo of Wagner in like a tux or a suit, which I think is the coolest friggin' thing in the world. That has a population of 6, which again is even far rarer than his T206, the most iconic baseball card in the world, the Wagner portrait card. That's something some people might not know, that there's an earlier Wagner card that has more significance and is significantly rarer than the T206. Granted, the T206 has nice colors. The Breisch Williams might not be as eye appealing, but I think it's such an interesting card, and of course, it's extremely valuable. I'm not sure when the last one had sold, but again, that is a population of 6 on SGC. And then they also, the E107 set has a Christy Mathewson card, which is considered his first baseball card, actual card rookie. There have been releases of his image before that time, before 1903, but it's widely regarded as Christy Mathewson's rookie. He's also in some sort of like a suit, not in any baseball uniform, I believe, or anything like that. I'll put a photo up of that card right here. It's just an amazing set. It really is a cool set. Only about 1,000 of them ever have been graded by SGC, so that's total of the set. And the set consisted of 150 subjects, but I believe only 147 are on a checklist or on a at least ever discovered. I guess that's what I've read. And if you want to see too, they come in different back variations. They come in a stamped back variation, which is the rarest. So it has one of 150 prominent baseball players with a stamp on the back that says, I believe, just the Breisch Williams Company. That's extremely rare. There's one that just says one of 150 prominent baseball players, which is just the plain, the regular back. And then there's a back that's a blank back. The blank back is the one that I had owned from the Herman Long card. And SGC didn't designate it. They usually, so if you look in their pop account, the population report, it designates what card you send in, what back it has, because that's almost like the T206 set. You have all the different variations of backs. So you have Sweet Caparel, Piedmont, Tolstee, Carolina Brights, all the different backs. These only have 3 backs, and they do designate that in the population report. One thing that was interesting about my Herman Long card was that it had a blank back. It wasn't designated in the pop report or mentioned on the SGC label. I contacted SGC about that. Nobody ever got back to me. But all the Herman Long cards I've seen previously never had a blank back. So I considered that card a pop 1, which was a good selling point also to the dealer who I sold it to. And he kind of understood where I was coming from and knew that I wasn't kind of blowing smoke. He knew that that's really what the set it consists of, and a blank back is a thing. So just a really unbelievable set. That person, I believe, I had found an REA auction. My exact Herman Long card sold. I'll put the auction results up here. He sold it shortly after I think I sold it to him for roughly what I sold it to him. And now I think he was just taking a chance to say, hey, this is a rare card. Let me take the chance. I don't have much to lose if it sells for a significant amount of money. If it sells for what I have bought it for, great. So he did that. And then I saw shortly after that a Herman Long 1.5 SGC, which didn't even look as good as my one or the one that was sold for like $4,600 in REA as well. So clearly these cards, Herman Long was not a fantastic player. He was a good, I believe he was a shortstop. He holds the record. I'll put a little stat up here. He holds the record for the most errors ever in MLB history, which I believe is about 1,000 and change, 1,000 and a little bit over 1,000. I'll put that stat up here. It's a pretty interesting fact. But he played for many years. He was allegedly a good shortstop. Pretty horrible record to hold. I would rather own a Cobb, in my opinion. That's just kind of how I looked at it. I wanted something like this for my collection. And at the same time, I also want some rare pre-war stuff. But I had to ask myself, like, okay, what am I going to sit back and kind of gawk over and be happy that I own? And it's not a Herman Long card. It's a Ty Cobb card, especially one with a little bit of the provenance here. So, yeah. But that's pretty much it. I just kind of wanted to go over that, talk about my cool find, and then talk about, what I did with that find. And also, too, I just wanted to say Bud had no idea that this card was an E107 card, nor did I. I told him after the fact what I found, and he was like, he couldn't be any happier. He was like, he was totally thrilled. He's like, great, congrats, and that's cool. And he, knows a lot about sets. He was a little bit unfamiliar with that set, but he was happy that, everything worked out. And I actually brought this card in to show him kind of how it all transpired. So, yeah, but that's it, guys. If you want to do some more research on a set like the E107 set, it's such a cool set. Google search it. You can see there's a lot more players on it. Like Lajoie is a player on that, which has the same image as his portrait card for T206. Who else is on that? I'm trying to think. But there's a few more Hall of Fame subjects. But just a cool set, cool card, cool story. I figured I'd share. So But anyways, yeah, appreciate you watching, guys. Subscribe if you're not already, and take a look at my previous videos, and I appreciate it. Thank you.